Okay, I said that I would answer these questions democratically, and seeing as this one got upvoted, I have to obey. This is the law of the demos. I want your all-time top book recommendations. As far as I know, we haven't seen that before. Well, when I'm doing book recommendations, I try to follow the rule that I give for like favorite films or favorite albums or artists. The temptation is always going to be to lie and say what you think makes you sound cleverer or cooler than you are. So the rule I have is with films, books, and music, if you listened to it multiple times or you read it multiple times, that has to go on the list. I will have forgotten some of the things for sure. Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess is a book that I definitely would have read over 20 times. Highly recommend it. It's set in a sort of a Soviet-style post-communist utopia. I'm pretty sure it's the UK, and the kids are speaking half English, half Russian in a slang called Nadsat, and the whole book is written in this half Russian slang. It's a book that deals with themes of violence and brainwashing and free will and volition. It's a great book, fantastic book. Doesn't take that long to read. Once you've gotten into the Nadsat, it's good fun, really, really good fun. It's heavy in parts, but you'll enjoy it. Another one that I read multiple times are two books by Stephen King. One is called The Dark Tower, which is the first book of the Gunslinger series, and the other one is called The Dark Half. In The Dark Half, an author writes a vicious character into life. Actually, the author writes another author into life, and he writes a really, really dark character. It's pretty complicated. So this is based on Stephen King's experience of writing under a pen name. I think his pen name was Richard Bachman. And what happens is the author brings to life the shadow self. The fantasy version of himself is his own suppressed shadow, full of all of its potency and violence and aggression. And it's just a fascinating exploration of human psychology. I don't know how many times I read that when I was a kid. Many times. The Dark Tower is just a good piece of fantasy writing. The Dark Tower series is up and down. It's not fantastic. Stephen King doesn't always write amazingly well, though he is a great author. But the first one in the Dark Tower series is really excellent, so I highly recommend that as well. I can't remember the author's name. Oh, that's embarrassing. There's three books that I want to recommend by one author. My absolutely favorite author of recent years that I came across. He wrote No Country for Old Men, Blood Meridian, and The Road. In my opinion, these three books are some of the best books ever written. They're beautifully constructed. This guy is a Zen master wordsmith. Very rarely will you see a sentence. You can open the books and pick sentences at random, and there's no fat there. There's no excess there. There is only that which is absolutely essential to convey atmosphere or meaning within the story. No Country for Old Men, really good adaptation into a movie that's pretty true to the spirit of the book. Same with The Road, also a really good adaptation. The Road, of all of these, The Road is the hardest read, but has the highest payoff in the end. I highly recommend it, even though it is hard going. No Country for Old Men is excellent, but my favorite of the three would be Blood Meridian. I don't know how many times I've read that. I only picked it up for the first time about 4 years ago, and I think I've gone through it about 5 times since then. It's just a beautifully written book. Dune is a book that I loved as a kid, D-U-N-E. It's a classic sci-fi, brilliant world building. It creates languages. There's even martial arts styles there. There's whole religions, and histories and ways of conveying history. Just a very, very exhaustive experiment, not exhausting, exhaustive experiment in creating a whole new world of a potential future reality, and the way in which those future realities crash into each other. So there's elements of quantum physics and multiple universe theory in there. It's a great book. 1984, extremely pertinent to the times we're living through now. But 1984 by George Orwell, it's a tough book in terms of its themes and in terms of where it goes, but also beautifully written. Very, very simple, very, very good storytelling. I wish I could write as clearly as George Orwell does. Again, another book with no fat on it. This is somebody who's mastered the craft of writing. And I don't think it gets enough credit for the way it's written because it's overshadowed by the themes of the book, but it's actually an extremely well-written book. And the themes are, as most of you would know, government control, brainwashing, human volition, so on and so forth. So it ties in nicely with Clockwork Orange. Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. I don't know how many times I read that as a kid. Certainly more than 10. I think what makes this book so much fun, I was reading it at the same time as I was reading The Exorcist throughout my teenage years, is not just the two protagonists, Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, are beautifully crafted, multi-layered people. These are people that the author has simulated to such a high level in his imagination, you believe in them. You believe in them utterly. And the dynamic that plays out between them is fascinating. And it is in parts much like The Exorcist and the devil, the communications between the priest, who is the exorcist, and the devil himself. Clarice Starling as the Claire Starling, a small but bright and intelligent and pleasantly singing fragile bird. Hannibal Lecter, lecturer, this hyper-intelligent and innocent but well-meaning character, colluding together ultimately colluding together after some friction and some transaction to stop someone else from doing evil. Great book, thematically very, very deep. And then finally, I'm going to recommend a book that I'm only halfway through, which is The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoyevsky. Why am I recommending it if I'm only halfway through it? There is no work of fiction that I've consumed that has made me think as much as this book. As a novel, it offers a tremendous amount. And I imagine that it would be written in a very heavy, flowery way. I think because of my experiences trying to read Nietzsche, which is a similar time period. Well, Nietzsche's a little bit later, but Nietzsche, and then after Nietzsche, I tried to read Adler, and there's these long sentences translated for the German, and the sentences go on for like half a page. I'm like, my God, this is mind-numbing. This is not how Dostoyevsky writes, or Tolstoy. Tolstoy as well with War and Peace. It's actually written, these were written as novels to be consumed. They were consumed in episodes originally, before they were printed as a book, in a newspaper. And I think The Brothers Karamazov, it ran in a Russian newspaper for something like 18 months, and then it finally ended. So it's not, the themes get heavy and philosophical and religious, but the language and the sentence structure is something any bright 14-year-old could easily consume. Don't be intimidated. It is a big book, but just get it on your Kindle and have a go. Just give it a go. At least you can say you tried. Not many people would do it of their own volition unless they were doing a literature course, and you can say that you gave it a go. So those are my book recommendations. I know when I'm driving in the car afterwards, I'm going to kick myself because I'll have forgotten something, but that's not a bad start as far as fiction goes. God knows what insight that offers you into my psychology. Anyway, I won't think about that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I have answered that question that was democratically selected. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers.